Good afternoon, good morning, whatever time it is when you see this. Um, this is our group that's going to talk a bit about intellectual prep, what that is, intellectual preparation for social action. It's a program that's been put together by Fundiac, an organization that's in Colombia, and it's all about learning how to think, learning how to understand, learning how to transform yourself, et cetera, et cetera. This small group here will be here representing the numbers of people, many people who have been through this course that started. And I'm going to ask Martha Rabani to begin. So, Martha.
Thank you, Luis. Good morning, friends. I was introduced to intellectual prep book by Luis 16 years ago, maybe more, 16, 17 years ago. And we studied it together and then adapted sections of the book to develop a program to empower high school youth, and those were honor students. And we used this material and the other supplemental material, but this was really the backbone of the curriculum we developed. And that was a training program that lasted 2-3 years with this significant group of high schoolers. That I think was a great success, was my first experience with intellectual prep. And then after that, as a university professor, I was using sections of the intellectual prep book, and then the questions they were bringing at the end of each section to work with my students that on my classes for education for peace and nonviolence, education for social justice. I always dreamt that if school teachers, public school teachers and private school teachers could go through this material and could be trained, what a great service it would be, really, because it restructures everyone's perception of and contextualizes in a much broader perspective and context the purpose of education.
Hi everyone, my name is Alexa Wilhoit, and I'm 16. I go to Oak Park High School, and I'm currently a junior. I think everything that Ms. Rabani said was completely accurate of the book. I think it just as much as teaches education and how it should be rather than how it is currently. It also gives you a better look of society and how you personally can change it. I think so many people look around like, I want this to change, I want that to change, but they don't ever have the means to do it themselves, and they don't look within themselves to see, what can I do to change this? I think the book just as much as helps you get that look at society and education and what's really going on, but it also helps you look at yourself. And it helps you get a better perception of yourself, a better thinking of yourself, a better view of yourself. There's so many ways that it helped me, because during the time when I first met Dr. Lewis, I was still kind of learning about myself. I was kind of figuring out who I was, who I wanted to be. I was in 8th grade, and I was actually homeschooled for the year. And my basketball coach actually introduced me to Dr. Lewis because she felt this course would really help me out in life. And I felt that it really did. It gives you this entire new look on society and education, but it really helps you personally, which is why I think it would be so beneficial for it to be taught in not even just high schools, but school in general. There's so much of rote learning. If you go look at high school, elementary school, middle school, there is so much rote learning, and these kids really don't want to be at school. Trust me, I'm in school with kids that I know that do not like school. They don't like learning. They don't like coming. The reason that this book is so necessary to education and society is because it helps you understand why education and society and community is so important. It makes you have a new motivation, because you cannot better anything unless you better yourself. You can't love anyone or love anything properly without loving yourself first. You realize, okay, I really want to make some changes in this world. I want to be somebody. I want to do something. But without my mental health, without me, I can't do those things. I wanted to try what you were asking. I was so nervous for high school. I didn't really know what I was doing there. and you kind of said, okay, well, if you're not understanding classes, ask the teacher questions that they might not be expecting to get. Once I started to do that, I noticed that these teachers started looking at me way differently. They started looking at me like, okay, she's going to ask me questions that aren't in my book. They're not in my notes. So I feel like sometimes even if I ask them, they would look confused. If I asked them, what's the concept of what we're learning? They would look at me like, I thought you weren't supposed to want to know this stuff. Now, after hearing that somebody's actually curious about what they're learning, I think it makes them look at these students differently, especially me. I think after I started showing that I wasn't afraid to ask questions, it impacted other people to start doing the same. And I had some people that were involved in diversity. They were upperclassmen, Black Student Union, Muslim Society, multiple just after school groups that I started talking about this book and everything that it's done for me. A lot more kids started asking me, well, what is this book? What does it do? What do you do?
Okay, my last question. Do you think you have the capacity to start a small group in studying intellectual prep in your
1000%.
school?
1000%. I've even tried to talk to some of the administration about possibly starting a group. It's getting them to connect with whatever they're learning. And I think that I definitely could do that. I feel like anybody could do that if they just had an understanding for whatever it is that they're learning. Anything that you learn that you can understand, apply, and then imply, I mean, you can teach anything.
Good morning, if it is morning while we're doing this. And my name is Terrence Freeman, and I've been an educator for 3 decades now. And one of the things that I like about this course is that, with my commitment to education, my commitment to learning, it's very easy when you're working within a school system to get caught in the discipline, meaning that I'm preparing students to pass a test. I'm preparing them to pass the course. And the foundation of this course, which is looking at the aim of education, the purpose of the education, concepts in education, is really foundational to the educational experience. And so it is coming off of this course, which I've been involved in just in the last year, that so much of the working of the course is something that resonates with me. It's always been my idea that I don't teach my discipline, I teach students. And sometimes education is taken to the place of it's going to enhance my wealth, it's going to enhance my status. They're going to call me Dr. Freeman now. So whoopee, okay, now I'm Dr. Freeman. But it is an opportunity to understand something about truth and how we determine truth, to understand concepts of justice and what does justice really mean for what I affectionately call my social justice warriors, for understanding concepts of beauty, for understanding morality, to understanding all of these concepts that we toss around, but what does it actually mean and how does it manifest itself in what we do on a day-to-day basis? So again, going back to my social justice warriors, who are sometimes filled with passion and let's run out in the street and change the world. And we can say, well, let's slow down just a minute and take that passion, which is real, and shape it in a way that it's productive and shape it in a way that that's strategic, so that those who want to change the world are better equipped to change the world.
And I see such possibilities of using this educational process and understanding for the transformation of the individual as well as the transformation of society. Personally, I've used this material so much over the years, I find myself using it in my everyday work. I find myself looking at twofold understandings of most things. I find myself inquiring with the 3 levels of comprehension, using understanding first and then application. And this just naturally comes.
The last thing that I wanted to say was I too use it in my everyday life. And I think that if other kids were to use this, like me, they could go from taking the classes needed to graduate because you just want to get by and that are easy to wanting to go above and beyond, not just in school, but in your everyday life.